Welcome to the lower berth, the greatest show on earth. We appear without a sound, the darkest show around. We will leave you in a daze, madness, murder, dismay. We will disappear and now with blood on the concrete.
Hello into Media Wiz, because one art form wasn't enough. Happy Halloween, everybody! Today I've come dressed up as Charlie from Smiling Friends.
Listen, I've seen way too many people get their careers ruined over old Halloween costumes. I'm not doing it.
It made perfect sense at the time. Anyway, on to reviewing a horror movie for this year's Halloween special, and today we have a film from master of horror himself, Eli Roth. With his career launched after the surprise horror cult classic Cabin Fever, Roth skyrocketed with assistance from legend Quentin Tarantino, who was a fan of his work. They would often work together, with Tarantino producing some of his movies, and even giving Roth some roles in his movies, like Inglourious Bastards. But honestly, I've never been the biggest fan of Roth's work. He's clearly a passionate director and loves cinema, and he seems to be a nice dude, but his Hostel movies were his first that I ever saw from him, and I was not a fan of them. I have nothing against violent horror movies, but these were just gratuitous with the amount of gore that was in them. Even with movies like Green Inferno that had interesting ideas, it felt like it just got old quick to me. Honestly, I think his best movie was probably his Thanksgiving horror movie from last year. And believe me, his original ideas, even at their weakest, are still better than most of his mainstream director-for-hire output. Case in point, Borderlands. However, this one wasn't originally his idea. In 2010, a fake trailer was posted to YouTube depicting a father putting on a clown suit and slowly turning into a monster. In the trailer, it said it was directed by Eli Roth when it wasn't. But he ended up seeing the trailer, liked the idea, and worked with the creator, John Watts, to make an actual full-length clown movie, with Eli filling the role of producer. Released by Dimension Films, the movie was put out in 2014, but only in Italy, and it didn't hit the States till 2016, where it limped to video on demand. Even though I'm not the world's biggest fan of Roth's work, I'm still willing to give this one a chance. I mean, the premise is at least somewhat interesting, so let's see if the execution holds up. This is Clown. Well, that's already one way to start your movie off, with the screams of the damned. Oh, but it's subverting expectations because there's screams of joy amongst a bunch of kids at a birthday party for a kid named Jack.
Okay, you need a drink.
No, I can't.
Why not? You're not. Oh my god. Oh my god!
You can't say things you can't, okay? It's a total surprise.
Before you think this becomes a plot point later, it kind of doesn't. They bring it up every once in a great while, but yeah, halfway through the movie, they're just kind of done with this little plot point. The kid's mom, Meg, calls her husband Kent, who's wrapping up a realty job before heading over to the party. But bad news rears its ugly head as Meg informs him that there's a booking problem with the clown they planned for the party. So Kent decides he can fix this. As he rummages through the clothes in the house they're currently renovating, he sees if he can throw together a makeshift clown costume. But soon enough, he notices an old trunk that just so happens to have what he's looking for.
Ladies and gentlemen, may I have your attention,
He's
please?
here!
Gather around, one and all, for the wacky, the wonderful, Dumbo the Clown!
Okay, this brings me to the first problem I have with this movie. I'm not really a fan of the clown suit. As they go into it later, it's meant to look ancient as the suit goes back many, many generations. So I get it's supposed to look faded and tattered, but the colors are so faded, especially with the rainbow wig and the clown nose, it makes the whole thing look dreary. And sure, most of the movie already looks dreary, but especially with this birthday opening sequence, this just seems like the drabbest looking birthday clown ever. And sure, the clown suit in the trailer was your typical clown suit, but at least it actually looked like a real birthday party clown outfit with bright colors. Either way, the party goes off without a hitch, winning Kent some awesome dad points.
I'm gonna go take a shower first.
Oh.
You take that thing off, I'll give you your present.
Oh, you think he has a balloon in his pants, or you think he's just happy to see her? But Kent falls asleep on the couch and wakes up the next day not having taken off his clown suit. And now it seems the damn thing won't even come off, with some oh-so-subtle foreshadowing.
I think this wig is stuck.
Yeah, you shouldn't have slept in it, maybe. Hey, guess what? The clown is driving you to school today. Yeah, cool.
No, wait.
After trying to wash off the face makeup to no avail, he successfully drops off his son at school and heads over to work, covering himself in a winter jacket, beanie, and some Knight Rider shades.
Hey guys, sorry I'm late. It's just tearing the carpet out on the first floor, then we'll talk about the hardwood.
Who are you?
Alright, you knew this reference was coming.
I'm funny how? I mean, funny like I'm a clown, I amuse you. I make you laugh. I'm here to fucking amuse you.
Wait, that's not right. That's not the right clip I was gonna use.
What? I'm funny now? I'm a funny guy just because I'm dressed like a clown? I suppose you think I shouldn't have a gun either!
There we go. That's the clip I was looking for. While his guys get to work, Kent goes upstairs to continue his efforts to get the clown suit off of him. This time, the makeup comes off pretty easily with some makeup remover, but the rest still puts up a hell of a fight, even when things escalate when he tries using a box cutter.
Oh!
Okay, what did you think was going to happen when you carelessly operate a blade like that close to your wrist? Or really any part of your body in general? And guess what? After cutting himself like that, he then moves on to heavy-duty power tools. But still to no avail. Back at home, it's getting late, and Meg seems worried as to where Kent could be. Almost like she senses something bad on account of the creepy noises and ominous music in the background. Wouldn't be a modern-day horror movie if it didn't have some half-assed jump scares thrown in there, right? This is Meg's father, letting us know that the creaking sound she heard was coming from the swing set that he built especially for them. And this is mostly to establish he's going to be a character later on in the movie. Later that night, Kent finally gets home and explains all the weird things that have been happening to him lately.
I don't understand. I can't get it off.
Why not?
Because I can't. I broke a handsaw, I cut my wrist open, and I really have to pee.
So he asks his wife if she can help him get the stuff off of him. Starting with the clown nose, they use dental equipment to do the job, and they manage to get it off of him, along with a chunk of his actual nose. Also, their dog ends up eating the clown nose. Surprisingly, this will actually come back into play later in the movie. Once they move on to the wig, it seems that it's actually merged completely with his natural hair. Seeking an actual medical professional, things don't get any better for Kent, as the doctor just assumes he's a clown by profession. And things get even worse when it seems he's developing a hunger that can't be satisfied. It starts with some late-night snacking, and soon escalates to eating almost everything in the house. But no time for that. He puts on some hair dye and some touch-up, and he heads on down to his office to grab the file of the house that he was renovating at the beginning of the movie.
Sorry. Oh.
Now this I thought was going to come back in the movie, like maybe it would be some clown epidemic that spreads like a virus, but no, nothing like that. I mean, something like that does happen later, but nothing as drastic as clown virus that spreads. I mean, it would have been stupid, but it would have been something. I mean, I'm just saying, how many times have you seen a story where a bunch of people turn into clowns because of some kind of contagion?
Carl, if you want me to help you, you need to please set those down. They're very expensive.
I freaking can't. I need to do this.
And the microscope, 4, ladies and gentlemen.
Oh crap, that's actually a really good answer. After finding out the previous homeowners foreclosed because they died, he then goes to another lead, a costume store that doesn't seem to know what he's talking about, but he notices a page in a catalog of theirs, so he takes that as some kind of clue. And I love how he just rips the page out. Whenever I see people do that in movies, I can't help but think that maybe there was information on that page that someone else would have needed at some point. Anyway, the name that's on the catalog matches the initials that were on the trunk where he got the suit, so it seems that he's finally getting a proper lead.
I'll be over as soon as I can. But don't touch that costume, please.
I'm wearing it.
The man on the other end explains that the clown suit is restrictive in severe weather, and Kent chalks it up as a good thing. The man on the other end invites Kent over so that they can get all this squared away, but obviously it's not going to be that simple. We're not even 20 minutes into this thing. So Kent makes his way to the old warehouse where the guy told him to go, and we get another stupid jump scare. This one doesn't even have the stupid jump scare music sting like the last one did.
Jesus Christ. Oh.
You'll have to excuse me. I just love startling people and popping up from behind them like that. I'm kind of a dick that way. The old man, whose name is Carlson, throws on some tea and cookies and they discuss exactly what's going on, leading into the twisted origins of the clown costume, that it harbors a demonic energy of an ancient Icelandic demon that resembles a clown and feeds on children. LG, ancient clown monster that comes out every so often to feast on children. I've never seen that done before. Can you think of an example of that? I can't possibly think of one.
Lured children out of the villages into its cave. 5 children. 1 child for every month.
I could be wrong about this, but isn't winter from the last week of December to the last week of March? So if anything, rounding that up, wouldn't that be 4 kids, not 5? Also, I double-checked, and no, this seems to be made up specifically for the movie. Maybe if the Cloyne legend was a real thing, like Krampus or other scary folklore figures, maybe they could have had a little more to work with, but as it is, it just feels like a garden-variety evil child-eating clown demon that others have done before. Either way, it's screwed up and you shouldn't mess with it. As it turns out, Kent falls asleep on account of the sleeping pills that was slipped into his tea. As he comes to, the old man reveals the only way to get the suit off is to behead who's ever wearing it. Kent manages to get out of his restraints, and despite getting a cleaver in his shoulder, he manages to knock out Carlson and kidnap him, tying him up and taking him back to his house, where he tries to explain things to his wife.
We have to go to the cops, but you have to come with me because they're gonna think I'm crazy if I'm dressed like a clown.
What the fuck?
He tries to prove that he's not crazy to everyone, but no one is buying it, and it seems everyone is even more against him after he accidentally breaks a guy's arm. As he flees into the night, his hands and feet begin to grow monstrously, and even worse, Carlson gets up from the back seat and tries to take Ken out while he's driving. He manages to knock out the old man and flee into the night on foot, noticing 2 kids nearby. But I guess he still has some moral code to him, so he runs off into the woods so he can't try to eat them. Which doesn't really matter because he comes across a kid at a summer camp in the woods and he bites 2 of his fingers off. But not wanting to let the clown inside win, he tries his damnedest to stay away from kids, slowly losing it and looking less like a clown and more like a bum. So he goes to lay low for a while at a motel.
Are you a clown? My name's Robbie. What's your name?
With the hunger slowly eating at his psyche, he locks himself in and decides there's only one way out of this. Interesting effect with the rainbow-colored blood. You see, it's little things like that I wish the movie leaned more into. You know, the biology of the Cloyne and what it's really like to transform from man to clown demon monster thing. This leads me to another problem I have with this movie. This is essentially a werewolf story, but instead of a werewolf, it's a clown monster. That's all fine and good, but there really should have been more done with Kent as a normal, everyday guy turning into this clown. I don't know, you could have him discover that he can juggle despite never learning how to juggle, or have him hack up a whole thing of scarves. I mean, his feet growing is a thing, but that's more or less a monstrous transformation, not really because of the whole clown gimmick. And on top of that, it feels like we could have explored what kind of person Kent was before any of this happened. Was he a good father and husband? Did he not spend enough time with his family? What was his life like before any of this started? I do feel bad for his situation, but I wish there was a little bit more to this character aside from being the main victim of the monster in the movie. Anywho, that didn't work, and remembering Carlson saying the only way to defeat the Cloyne is to cut off the head, that night, Kent tries to set up his own makeshift jigsaw trap and do it himself. Okay, first of all, why was the door not locked? If he's really trying to do this without any interruption or anyone potentially getting hurt because of the clown demon, why did he not lock the door? 2, where is that kid's parents? Why is that kid still rummaging around this random motel late at night? Well, with no other option, Kent decides to feed his urges and eat the kid. As Meg shows up to check up on him, he decides to go back home with her. Once at home, he asks her to chain him up in the basement and not let him out no matter what he says, until they can find a way to get the clown suit off of him. Meanwhile, Meg looks through the book that he brought home and she discovers Carlson once wore the clown suit many years ago. When she goes to get answers from him in the hospital, he refuses to tell her, mostly because his jaw was wired shut. She goes to check out the house from the beginning, and we see some old black and white footage throughout history depicting the clown monster. It doesn't really give a whole lot of answers as to what's going on, but it does look like something someone would use as proof for some online creepypasta. I mean, it is similar to that man-in-the-suit Godzilla story, so that's something, I guess. Back at the house, Jack comes home early and tells his dad about a bully at school. Thankfully, Meg gets home just in the nick of time for another lame-ass jump scare. But the real horror is heading down the street as Kent stalked the bully back to his house, and while he's distracted playing some I Can't Believe It's Not Halo, he devours the kid. But things are looking grim back at the house as it seems their dog is now going its own cloying transformation. And yet, sneezing on someone like he did earlier didn't affect them. You see, I still don't get that. And even though she's not even running, Meg still finds a way to fall down and crawl when she could easily get back up. Leave it to Carlson, who pops up out of nowhere and saves her by cutting off the dog's head. Unwiring his jaw, he explains the only way to get the clown suit off of him is by letting him eat all 5 kids, and the suit will willingly let the wearer return to normal. So it's either that or cut the head off, take your pick. Dropping the kid off with Meg's dad, her and Carlson go to look for Kent. Discovering the eaten bully kid, they wonder where he possibly could have gone, and the answer is Chuck E. Cheese. Yeah, I bet they really love that endorsement. To think, in 2014, the year this movie was released in Italy, the first Five Nights at Freddy's game was released. Man, 2014 was not a good year for Chuck E. Cheese's public image. Meg goes inside looking for Kent, because apparently it's hard to miss a bloody mess of a man dressed in a freaky-looking clown suit. One kid is looking for his brother, so he heads up into the tubes and is greeted by some girl who tells him to not go up. Ignoring the advice, he continues, and still doesn't turn back after seeing bloodstains on the walls. He sees his brother, and this gives the brother enough time to get away from the clown, which then attacks that other kid instead. And now people decide to evacuate after screams of agony and blood starts to leak down from the slide. Anyway, once Meg finally comes across the clown, he manages to explain some of his demands.
Bring me one more child, and you can have your husband back.
Hi, Eli Roth in a director cameo.
Find a child and bring him to me. Bring him to our favorite spot, babe.
Where exactly is that? Seriously, they never explained the clown having some kind of specific hiding spot or anything like that, so where the hell is he even talking about? Oh, never mind. There he goes. He's off. So she better find a final kid or the clown will go after Jack. Hell, there's a teen girl who asks Meg to give her a ride home, but this is just a fake out. You know she's not really going to do it. She drives out to the woods? Is that where the clown's special place was? The girl screeches and rushes back to the car, but it turns out the screams were from the police nearby. Yep, the clown duped her and went to kill and eat Jack himself, making this whole deal thing for the last few minutes incredibly pointless. Meg's dad brings Jack back to their house and immediately gets killed by the clown. So it's time for the climax of the movie where it's mom versus clown, but not before another jump scare.
I'm not dead!
All the while, the costume slowly melts off of him, revealing Kent's body was underneath the whole time, as the movie ends with the clown suit being taken to an evidence locker, with ominous music playing behind it. So that was Clown, and overall, it's better than the movie we reviewed last year with Smiley. For a movie with the budget it had, it did look pretty good for the most part. The colors are a bit muted for my liking, but whatever. The effects and gore looked good enough. As far as the story goes, I wish there was a little bit more to it. Like I said earlier, I would have liked if there was more of our main characters before any of this stuff happened to them. They made a big deal setting up Meg's pregnancy and wanted to surprise Kent with it, but it doesn't really go anywhere, and it's kind of dropped halfway through the movie. Same with the mythology of the clown monster itself. They go down the basics of it eating children and how it takes over whoever wears it, but nothing really beyond that. So many missed opportunities to show a person slowly deteriorating and turn into this were-clown, but they didn't really do anything with it. And yes, it's a silly premise, but that doesn't mean they couldn't have had a little bit of fun with it without going full campy horror comedy on it. Apparently, most of the studios didn't want to touch this movie because of all the child murder, and while I could see where they were coming from, it doesn't explain why it then became so popular just a year after. I mean, why? Is it because it was based on a popular IP and a star-studded cast attached to it? Is that why? Honestly, the weakest aspect of this movie is the horror itself, with a lot of flimsy jump scares. I've ranted about this before, but I still find it lazy. Just having a loud noise in and of itself is not scary, especially when that and the gore seems to be all the movie has going for it. Though, compared to some other Eli Roth movies, it has a slightly more interesting premise, I suppose, thanks to the fake trailer that inspired it. Overall, it's a simple horror movie with a lot of basic scares. It's far from bad, but it's really nothing great either. Besides, I can think of something I've reviewed before that was way scarier than this with a similar premise. Return of Raggedy Android.
Mom, what's happening? Very interesting. Help! I can't breathe.
God, that episode is still awesome. Happy Halloween, everybody!
And there's another movie that did this that's called Clown. And this is a worse version of Clown. And Clown wasn't very good to begin with.